The house was quiet when I moved in. A stillness clung to every corner, as if the walls held secrets they were not eager to share. I'd always liked the idea of living alone in an old place with character, but as I walked through the empty rooms of my new home, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't entirely alone. It was an old Victorian-style house, perched at the end of a long, winding road. The house had been a bargain, something I'd chalked up to luck, but as I explored the first day, something felt off. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, and every sound seemed to echo through the hollow halls. I dismissed it, blaming my nerves on the loneliness and the sheer size of the house. For the first week, everything seemed normal. There were no neighbors for miles, so I had the silence all to myself. But by the end of that first week, I started noticing small things out of place. My keys moved from where I'd left them. Lights that I was sure I'd turned off were left burning, and at night, I swore I could hear faint scratching coming from the ceiling. It was on the 10th day that I found it. The attic door, which I'd somehow missed in all my time exploring, was hidden behind an old, heavy wardrobe that sat in the hallway. When I opened the door, a gust of stale air rushed out, carrying with it the scent of mold and dust. A narrow staircase led upward, the steps groaning with every cautious move I made. The attic was cluttered, filled with things left behind by the previous owners. Boxes of old books, photographs, and forgotten furniture littered the space. As I wandered through, something caught my eye: a large, dust-covered mirror propped up against the far wall. It was old, its once golden frame now tarnished and chipping, but as I moved closer, I realized there was something strange about it. The glass seemed darker than normal, almost as if it were absorbing the light instead of reflecting it. Curious, I reached out to touch it, and as soon as my fingers brushed the glass, I felt a chill rush up my arm. I pulled my hand back, but it was too late. The room around me seemed to dim, and I had the unmistakable sensation of being watched. I glanced over my shoulder, my heart pounding, but there was nothing there, just the shadows of old furniture looming in the corners. The feeling of unease stayed with me after that. I tried to ignore it, telling myself that it was just an old mirror and an overactive imagination, but things started getting worse. The strange noises at night grew louder, and every time I passed the attic, I felt an almost magnetic pull toward it, as if something wanted me to come back. I avoided the attic for days, until one night, the scratching sounds became unbearable. They echoed through the house, relentless and urgent. My nerves frayed. I grabbed a flashlight and marched upstairs, determined to put an end to it. As I entered the attic, I saw that the mirror had been moved. It now stood directly across from the door, reflecting the entire room in its darkened glass. And in its reflection, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A figure stood in the corner, half hidden by shadow. It was tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes that stared straight at me. My heart hammered in my chest as I turned to look directly at the corner. But when I did, there was nothing there. I turned back to the mirror, and the figure was gone. But the feeling of being watched remained. I backed out of the attic, slamming the door behind me, and didn't sleep a wink that night. The next day, I tried to do some research on the house, hoping to find some explanation for the strange occurrences. I found little, just a few mentions of previous owners and vague rumors about a tragedy that had supposedly taken place here decades ago. Nothing concrete, nothing that could explain the figure in the mirror. Over the next few nights, the figure appeared again, always in the mirror's reflection, never in the room itself. I tried covering the mirror, moving it to face the wall, but every time I went back, it had returned to its original position, facing the door and reflecting that same shadowed corner. Then, one night, I woke up to find the mirror in my bedroom. I hadn't moved it, and there was no way anyone else could have. But there it was, standing at the foot of my bed, its dark glass glinting in the moonlight. My chest tightened as I realized the figure was there again, closer this time, its empty eyes fixed on me. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was frozen, paralyzed by fear. And then, it stepped out of the mirror. I don't remember much of what happened next. Just flashes, cold hands gripping my wrists, a whisper of breath against my ear, and the feeling of being dragged, weightless and helpless, into darkness. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor of the attic, the mirror looming above me. My reflection stared back at me, but something was wrong. The face in the mirror wasn't mine. It looked like me, but its eyes were hollow, and its expression was twisted into a malicious grin. I ran from the attic, slamming the door behind me. But no matter where I went in the house, I felt that presence watching me, always lurking just beyond my vision. I couldn't escape it. I tried to leave, but every time I reached the front door, something stopped me. A force, invisible but undeniable, keeping me trapped inside. Over the next few days, I noticed that my reflection in every mirror seemed off. It moved when I didn't, smiled when I was terrified, and its eyes seemed to follow me no matter where I went. And the worst thing was, I could feel it. The reflection was alive, trapped on the other side of the glass, desperate to take my place. It was only a matter of time before it succeeded. The final straw came one night when I caught my reflection standing behind me in the hallway mirror. I turned, expecting to see someone there, but the hallway was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, my reflection was grinning, its eyes dark and hollow. That was the last time I saw my own reflection. Now, whenever I look in the mirror, I see it. The figure from the attic, wearing my face like a mask, staring back at me with those empty, soulless eyes. I don't know how much longer I can hold on. It's getting stronger, and I can feel myself fading, slipping away bit by bit. Soon, it'll take my place, and I'll be trapped on the other side, just a shadow in the glass, watching helplessly as it lives my life. If you're reading this, take my advice. Never trust what you see in the mirror, because sometimes the things we think we see are seeing us right back, and they're waiting, biding their time. For the moment they can reach out and pull you in.